Hi, I've always been really interested in studio tours and seeing how people craft the space around them and the tools that they use in order to make the music that they make. The studio tours from the big players are always really fun to gawk at, but it always left me with this underlying feeling that I needed a lot of this expensive, unachievable gear in order to make anything that was worthwhile. But that was until I found a page of smaller artists called the Magpie Pirates, and it's a community of smaller musicians, and they put out a bunch of studio tours. I found them very interesting. There's no flexing of vintage Les Pauls or super expensive gear. It was just a bunch of people who loved to make music, showing off what they had available to them in order to make that happen. I found it just very inspiring. As I've gotten on and invested more time and money into this room and my music gear, I see that I'm moving further and further away from that humble bedroom producer into a seemingly more unattainable professional producer. So there's no better time than the present in order to do this. So I use this room to record a bunch of the guitars from the most recent Witch Hazel album, Lamentations, as well as a banjo. I recorded some banjo for that. This is also where I made the vast majority of my recent album, Death of the King. And I'm really happy with how that turned out sonically. I feel like I'm really getting there with that sound that's in my head. Wait until the end of the video and I will reveal my ultimate secret, my most powerful tool for music production, which is housed and hidden entirely within this box. I started properly recording in around 2018 when I put out the Duality EP. And I've just been progressively getting better and growing ever since. For most of the time, I've just been recording in whatever bedroom that I was in at the time. At one point, I was renting out a room that was at the top of a detached garage that they'd converted into somewhat of a living space. And that sucked, not gonna lie. In 2022, I moved into a 2-bedroom flat, which allowed me to have a room entirely dedicated to music, which is where I started the groundwork for Death of the King. I now have bought a house, and I have this 2.5 meter by 3.8 meter room to work in. This used to be a young man's bedroom that I have not renovated, so that's why it looks like this, and there's like a specific smell of teenage boy that creeps in whenever I've been in here for about an hour. I swear it's not me, because none of the other rooms in the house smell like this. It's like his soul is still trapped in the carpet somewhat. Okay, so hardware. The computer is an MSI GE70 2PE from 2014. It's been really good, but it has been slowing down a lot as I've started using more intense plugins and it's been aging. I also play a lot of Team Fortress 2, in which I've had to reduce the settings to get a usable FPS. A recent purchase from the other week is this absolute behemoth of a 32-inch Samsung curved monitor. I got it off Facebook Marketplace recently, and it's just significantly bigger than I expected it to be. The desk is just a standing desk that I've got from Amazon. It's 1 meter by 2 meters. It's very nice and big. I like to have a lot of workspace, and this works great for me. The standing feature is also really useful for recording vocals. Audio interface is a Focusrite Scarlett 18 in, 8 out. MIDI keyboard is an Alesis VI49. I really like this thing. For monitors, I'm using Presonus Eris E5s. I've also got a Presonus Tembler T10 subwoofer. It's pretty overkill for what I need, but it is fun. Headphones, I've got some AKG K52s, just closed back headphones, just nice and cheap for tracking, and some Sennheiser HD 599 SE open back headphones. They're great to just get another opinion on mixing and things like that. Mics, I just use an Aston Spirit condenser mics. This is for any acoustic instruments that I need. And then for vocals, I'm using this Shure SM7B, just like that podcast guy and every podcast guy that exists now. Super luxury piece of equipment is this Neural DSP Quad Cortex that I use to record all the electric guitars. This thing sounds absolutely wonderful. So software. So I started out on a version of Cubase that came free with my first audio interface, and I didn't really like that. It wasn't particularly fun to use. It wasn't until I got this MIDI keyboard that came with a version of Ableton Lite that I started to really get into it. All right, streamer mode. Look at me. So yeah, I'm using Ableton 10 drums. I've just very consistently used Get Good Drums with Contact, which is this thing. If you haven't already seen it, it's just like really nice, easy to use, good sounding drums. Some plugin shout outs. Spitfire Audio is really good if you want to just lots of really good sounding instruments that are free. So I use that quite a lot. Towards the end of Death of the King, I realized I needed a melodica, so I just very quickly downloaded this melodica plugin, and it works really well. I use this reverb quite a lot, this Valhalla Super Massive. A lot of people recommend it. It's free. It's just a lot of fun. You can just make things turn into just chaos. I think I used it a lot on that interval track. That's why it sounds like I'm being absorbed by a black hole. One for mixing, which is incredibly useful, was this Uline loudness meter. I fell into the pit that is trying to understand decibels and lufs and the loudness war and what all that is going on. And there is so much conflicting information out there. So you use this tool to sort of figure out how loud your track is, because how humans interpret loudness is inconsistent and strange. It's all very convoluted. I think I understand bits of it. Yeah, I use this for mastering just to make sure everything's at a consistent loudness level. I also treated myself to this very swanky plugin called Soothe. It basically cuts out all those high frequencies. It's mostly used to sort of put it on top of your track, and it sort of makes it sound better, if that makes sense. You just plug it in, twiddle a few things, and it makes it sound good. I think so anyway. So yeah, my computer's really struggling right now as I'm opening these plugins. But I got a load of Softtube plugins, and I can't remember where I got them. I think I got them free from something. So yeah, I use this saturation knob if I want something to sound a bit louder. And then what is behind it, which I can't show you because my computer's freaking out, is this. It's called the Drama S7 III. And it's just like a mastering plugin, I guess. It just makes it sound louder while not making it sound rubbish. It was good to use for the mastering bit and to consistently get everything level. Hopefully I get to use my computer soon. So some of the other things that I use is the UAD Essentials pack. I mostly just use this tape recorder because it makes it sound nice, and this compressor, which is a good compressor. I don't have the ear to be able to A/B compressors and see which one sounds better, but I like using this one. It's a nice visual representation and sounds nice. Shout out to Kieran from Andraka for recommending the M Stereo Expander. I use this in the master of the tracks, and it's basically you turn it up and it makes your track sound wider somehow. It's one of those just put it on and it makes it sound better kind of plugins, and I like those. I also very reluctantly use this Auburn Sounds Greylon. It's like a pitch shifting auto tune. So I never really thought of myself as an amazing singer, and I'm definitely getting better at singing. But when it comes to tracking vocal harmonies, I found it really hard to get the notes consistent and not slightly flat. It was important to me to get it right, and I just couldn't get the vocal harmonies in line. I didn't use this on the main vocals whatsoever because I'm way too stubborn for that. But for the vocal harmonies, I had to rely on this. But shout out to Alex Pengler, who is my vocal coach and helping me get significantly better at singing. So watch out for that. All right, so now for the fun bit, the guitars. I usually mostly buy instruments secondhand, either from Facebook Marketplace or from just the music stores. I always love to get a good deal. So these are the ones that I use on a regular basis enough for me to just keep out in the studio. I tend to like things being hung up on the wall just so I can like grab and go instead of needing to like pull it out of a guitar case and then set things up that way. It's always much more inspiring just to like, off we go. So yeah, my main workhorse is this Maton EBG 808L. I bought this a few years ago, and it's so inspiring and fun to play. I'm a massive Tommy Emmanuel fan. This was my first Maton guitar, so it's quite special to me, and I play it every single day pretty much. I got a good deal on this Turner 74 CE12. It's always really useful to have a 12 string when you're recording. You never know when you're going to need it. And this is like a really good quality one for quite a good price when I got it. Shout out to Turner Guitars. I scored this mandolin, which is an Ortega RMFE 40 SBK. Nice catchy name. Yeah, I bought this from Promenade of Music in Morecambe, and it was just put up when I walked in. And it was the coolest looking one of the lot. The banjo is this Barnes and Mullins Perfect. This is one of the only instruments I bought brand new recently. Just because banjos are quite expensive and they're quite hard to find a good one, you know. Bass, I've got this Fender Aerodyne bass, which was a Facebook Marketplace find. I just needed a cool sounding Fender bass to be able to use whenever I want, and this just so happens to look awesome as well. If I ever join a black metal band or anything like that, I'm bringing this bad boy out. This is my Epiphone Les Paul. So this was my first ever proper guitar when I just wanted to be Slash. So it's a very special instrument to me. I used it in Witch Hazel quite a lot. At the minute, I've not got much use for it, as we're now using vintage guitars. So I've set this one up to have a super high action, just to use for slide. So I used it, all the slide guitars on the album. I'm using this thing here. This thing here is an item of absolute extreme luxury. This is a Gretsch White Penguin. When I was in school, I used to just type the word guitar into Google Images when I was in like year 7, just to stare at them, and this one would always come up, and I used to think like, well, that's not a Les Paul, what is it? I used to be super enamored by it, and I wasn't sure why. I think I just liked the Penguin. A few years ago, I got a significant pay increase for a job that I never ended up keeping, but when I got that first paycheck, this came up on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to do it. So yeah, I bought it. It sounds great. Basically, all the electric guitars on Death of the King are this thing. It's such a beautiful instrument. I love playing it, but it will never leave this room. It will never go on tour. It will never go to a gig. I would be far too scared of damaging it. Some other guitar shout-outs that I use somewhat regularly is this vintage V8 Strat. I took the gloss off this thing just to make it more of that matte sort of satin look, and I just really like the look of it. I use this for post-spunk actually. I wanted some sort of Strat for that band. This is a Fender Jim Root Strat. I've had this since I was a kid. I think I got it when I was 16. It's a bit silly. It's a Stratocaster with EMG pickups, but this is so incredibly fun to play, and it's such like a slab of wood as well. It's a proper sturdy guitar. It feels like cheating to play with these super compressed pickups, but I will never be able to let this guitar go, basically. I also have this Admira classical guitar. An old friend gave it to me from university. They didn't need it anymore, and they knew I was a guitarist, and they just said, here you go. So it's there if I ever need a classical. I used it on the song To Breathe on the Duality EP all those years ago, and I just haven't used it since. In the fitted wardrobe that was in this place when we moved in, I've just shoved a bunch of miscellaneous musical storage. I've got some clothes in here because I couldn't fit them in the wardrobe because I live with a girl, so you have to sort of accommodate for that sort of stuff. Just some miscellaneous amplifiers, lights. I've got a Tanglewood travel guitar, some pedals that I don't use but I just couldn't get rid of, like this Zvex Fuzz Factory. It just feels like the coolest thing in the world, and one of my first ever pedals, the Boss DS1. There's just such like a nostalgia to that sound, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but I just don't want to get rid of this thing. As well as the Blues Driver. I really like the Blues Driver. I just don't need these pedals anymore, but I just can't get rid of them. There's an Ableton Push 2 in there. I got this off Facebook Marketplace, but the pads don't work particularly well, so I've just kind of stopped using it. But I had a weird electronic phase when I needed to just branch out and experiment a bit, but there were parts of that which I still believe are a bit cringe, but I think I'm glad I did it. I don't know, it's hard to say. That was during COVID. I think we were all going a bit nuts. I was definitely going a bit nuts, but that's a thing that I did. I scored this Roland TD4 off Facebook Marketplace, so I got a really good deal for it. I'm not particularly good at drums, so I program drums instead of playing them. So this thing hardly gets played, but it's just really nice to have the opportunity to play some drums whenever I want. So I'm like miscellaneous room decor thing. I have this wall behind me full of memories of like cool Witch Hazel gigs we've done where I've stolen the poster, or like there's like wedding invitations, or like things people have gifted me and given me. I love this thing, and I'm always adding to it. Some like little backstage passes just above my head there. Yeah, just little nice memories. So unfortunately, I am a nerd, so I have like this 3D printed Majora's Mask and a little glass Pokeball with a Rayquaza in it. I love that little guy. I have vibey lights over my desk and this hanging ivy with lights in it. Please don't make fun of me for decorating my room like a teenage girl. I'm just trying my best in the current situation. Things might change, honest. I also have an arrangement of plushies at the top because I just like them. I don't have to justify myself to you. I'm a grown-ass man. I'll buy what I want. It's getting a bit colder now, so I've just made myself a cup of tea and put this extra top on. Okay, so now we've finally made it to the part of the video where we see what the ultimate tool is encased in this box. Are you ready? Let's do it. It's friendship. Friendship is the thing. As I'm recording and mixing and mastering everything myself, it's really easy to just get stuck in a rut. You can't hear your own music clearly anymore, and you start to think to yourself, like, does this suck? And instead of paying heavy fees for other producers, I'd rather just send the recording over to my friends to see what they thought, and I'd send it to people with the experience and the knowledge of music production so they could provide some more like constructive feedback, but also people who were just music enjoyers, just to get that nice broad view. I hope these people don't mind shouting them out, but they did take the time to listen and provide feedback for my work, and that helped me out so much, just making this album sound significantly better. So I would feel bad without giving them a big thank you. So initially, Colin Hendra, the band leader of Witch Hazel, in which I play guitar, and a good friend, he provided some very in-depth and constructive feedback, which helped me out a lot with those final tweaks. My brother Matthew, fellow music nerd and bass player / vocalist in post-spunk, I can always trust him to call me out if a song topic needs a little tweaking, let's say. But he generally just gave me a big thumbs up, and he was like, yeah, you're all right, you're good. There you go. I'd like to thank singer-songwriter Joel Gardner and the absolute metal powerhouse that is Kieran from Andraka for providing feedback with the music productions. They both gave some very nice words of encouragement, as well as some advice on the general mix. It was fun how they both provided very similar feedback while their music could not be more different. Joel makes acoustic folk pop like songs, and Kieran makes incredibly and intense dark black metal. So it was just fun. And also, I've given her a shout out a lot in live performances and things like that in interviews. So, shout out to my girlfriend. She was there listening throughout the production of the album. She is someone whose musical opinion I respect a lot. She would always let me know what she thought. And every time I'd make some changes, it's really nice and encouraging just to have her there. So thank you, me love. So in my experience, and from what I've seen in the general consensus, is that a studio is always changing and evolving over time. So a studio tour is only truly a snapshot of a point in time. So I recorded all of my first album, The King of String, using a remarkably cheap small diaphragm condenser mic and some relatively cheap plugins as well. So just to confirm that if you are looking into home recordings, you don't need a lot of fancy gear. Just use what you have and what you can at the time to make the stuff, and it'll eventually evolve from there. So just thank you for watching. I'll definitely be changing this room and upgrading it over time. As it stands, I just feel so lucky and happy to have an entire room in my house just for this creative stuff. It's like your own creative workspace. It's like a bit of a dream for little child me. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and pop any questions down there. I'm also very interested into seeing what other people have in their creative spaces / studio spaces as well. So I'm hoping this has inspired at least 1 or 2 people to pick up a camera and maybe do the same. I hope this video was worth your time anyway. Check out my music if you haven't already. And yeah, stay in touch. If you want to get in touch, I think the easiest way is on Instagram. I'll put details and stuff below. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching, and goodbye.